Time of the race, it's in May, kind of later May. But everybody thinks, well, hey, especially here in the Midwest, well, it's in May, it doesn't really get that warm in May. It might get a little bit warmer on some days. But typically during May, you look at the average around 79 degrees, sometimes in the 80s, maybe around 70%. Pretty similar to I live here in Kansas City, similar to the Midwest area here, the southern area. It stays pretty warm there. They might get some snow and some freezing rain in the winter. Typically, it stays above freezing for the most part, and it gets warm and humid in May. I did the half out in 2018. It was a great race. The weather, actually, in the days before, like in the afternoons, if the sun's out, it gets hot and humid. So it's nothing to discount that race could still be a little bit warm. I've talked to people about the full out in September, and usually, like in 2019, this year, it was 95 degrees when I was out there racing it. I'm not gonna say it's gonna get that crazy in May in Chattanooga, but you never know. Excuse me. But be prepared. The average is typically is around 79 degrees, which usually is a little bit above. You could get kind of warm on race day. So it's gonna be cool in the morning. Usually it's wetsuit legal, so the water is cool enough during the night, when it does get cold, that it'll get wetsuit legal. But it does warm up quick. So as soon as that sun comes up, it gets hot and humid. And especially for myself, I did the half about 5:03. So the race starts at about 7. So that is about noonish, 1 o'clock time frame. It was pretty warm. There's people kind of hanging out on the side on the second loop of the run. They went out really hard at the beginning because it's kind of a little bit cool at that point still. The second loop of the run, man, they were hurting. That humidity got to them. They just didn't prep right on the bike. The bike was super, actually a little bit chilly coming out of the water, starting the bike ride, but then it warms up. You're feeling good on the bike. If you don't pay attention out there, you're thinking, oh, it's nice and cool. I don't feel thirsty. I'm not super hungry. And you totally forget about your strategy. You come in at T2, you go out for the run. The first loop, you might feel pretty good. But if you're not on top of your hydration, you're going to feel it on loop number 2. And I saw a lot of that happening where people just kind of had to walk. Even to the point where there's one little hill you crest to come over and then go across the last bridge to loop back around. And it was warm enough. I kind of had to walk a little bit of the hill. So that kind of took away from my time that I was hoping to get sub 5 hours on that race. But once you cross the bridges too, there's no hiding from the sun. So if it's a sunny day and there's no clouds out there, that sun will get intense and that humidity will go up quick, especially if it's rained at all. So I would be prepared. This is going to be a little bit of a warm race. It should be, quote, perfect conditions. But once you get to that 80-degree level, and especially with the humidity as much as it is down there in the south, that would get to conditions where you kind of need to take that consideration in your race prep. So when you're doing your training, you need to prepare for that heat, and especially here in the Midwest specifically, and you go in the north or even in the south, usually, you're in the 50s and 60s for the highs. Even here, like I said, in the Midwest and up north, you're still freezing at that point at night potentially. So it's kind of hard to get acclimated to the heat that you may be anticipating on that day. For me personally, there's a few strategies I use. Most of my work was done indoors. So you can turn up heaters, you wear extra layers of clothing, and kind of build up the sweat process and resistance. So I'll go over a little bit, a few more strategies about training to get prepared for the heat. You can also do things on race day to kind of get prepared for it. So if you go out there and you're not even thinking about it, it will sneak up on you. You crest a few hills, you do across a bridge twice where it's full sun and it's kind of baking you there in the concrete and the asphalt. You'll be kind of sorry you didn't think about the, what can I do internally to keep myself cool? What can I do externally? So I've posted tips on that in the past on my Facebook pages and Instagram and everything of strategies you could do specifically. I was talking about Ironman Chattanooga this year, 2019, deal with 95 degrees. Things you can take away from that and still apply to a half Ironman. So to stay cool on race day. So the main point is, I want you guys to take away from this, especially for the half out in Chattanooga, is be prepared. It could be warm. Even if it's not, if it turns out to be 60 degrees or if it's raining or something like that, you can just blow everything off, potentially for what you need to do on race day as far as keeping cool. But if you've done what you need to in training to prepare for that heat, that'll actually benefit you on race day. If you're better prepared, you're about to be more efficient and it'll work even better in cooler temperatures. So you can actually maybe push the pace a little bit more on the end of the run, and be coming in off the bike in better shape and better condition. But still need to run your race plan. But I just want you guys to be prepared, especially my experience and the experience in the past. It is, the average is 79 degrees. You're starting to get a little bit warm. It's not, 71 would be perfect. Upper 60s would be awesome running weather. Just recently ran the half marathon or the full marathon here in Kansas City, and the temps were in the 50s. It was a little bit cool. It rained on us the first half, but the second half it didn't. It was perfect. Got to the finish line, and once I stopped, I was cold. I was ready to put on some nice dry warm clothes. But digressing back to Chattanooga in May, it will be warm. Plan on it. So don't get out there and get surprised. Be like, oh man, it's awfully hot. Because just walking around in shorts and a polo shirt or a t-shirt, I actually started sweating. I'm kind of a profuse sweater anyway. But just walking around, if you're hanging out outside, if you're thinking, oh, I'm just going to kick back and I'm going to bring my sweatshirts and pants, and man, it's going to be cold. It's not going to be cold. Be prepared for it. Be ready for a little bit of chilly, but also be ready for it's going to be warm. Just have it in your mind that race day is going to be a little bit warm, and you need to be prepared for it when you're doing your training and everything, especially if you're doing a lot indoors, especially here in the Midwest. In May, we could still potentially have snow around here and dealing with that. So it may be limited on how much you can actually go outside and do for training. So just be ready that it's not Minnesota in May and going to be cold and icy and snowy. It's probably going to be warm and potentially a humid day out there. So I just want you guys to be ready and prepared. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, we'll touch base on kind of tips and tricks and how to be ready for that, and kind of where you're at in your off-season, post-season training plan, getting ready to hit the ground running come January and get ready for the race. Talk to you later. Bye.